become more of who you are. That's really what it is. It's not even to become a better you. It's to become more of the true you without all of the BS that we have accumulated over all these years. Your body wants to partner with your mind and your inner life force, or what I like to call what makes you come alive. But we have been out of practice for this for a very long time, which is why we're all here. But when you shift your energy and your mentality and you build your trust muscle and you nourish yourself, you can shift how you show up in your life. In the big moments, but more importantly, in the small, everyday, in between moments that are seemingly insignificant, but are really what it's all about. And when you do that, things like what I'm about to share with you are possible for you as well. So these are some of my personal experiences of how breaking through burnout has impacted my life. So number one, I've let go of the struggle and what I was making the struggle mean. So basically, I stopped making things harder than they needed to be. Personally, I know if something is feeling like I have to force it, whether it's writing an email or making a phone call or paying a bill or making a course, a program, being in a relationship with someone, if something is feeling like force or meeting a lot of resistance when I think about that thing, this has become a flag for me. A flag that I need to look deeper within myself about what my body is communicating to me that it needs. Usually it's something that needs to be validated, or accepted, or loved, or approved of, or there's a fear there, a fear of being rejected, or a fear of failing. So whatever need I identify, I use the somatic tools to really help me identify what that is in the first place. Again, sober me up so that I can tap into my subconscious, so I can get into that deeper part of my nervous system and give me, and it's not for me to seek that in those things, but it's for me to give myself that need in a loving way. So if I am, procrastinating, let's just say writing an email, and I can't get myself to do it, and instead of judging myself or shaming myself or feeling really bad about myself, like, wow, you can't even get yourself to write this email, you suck. I will use the somatic tools to help me connect to myself to see what is in this resistance, what is in what is in the space of where I am, and writing this email that is this invisible resistant energy. And I can identify it's because I don't think it's gonna be good enough, or I'm afraid how this person's gonna react, or what if it doesn't give me the outcome that I'm looking for. So it's a fear, or it's a fear of rejection, or it's needing to be validated. So I give that to myself. I give that to myself. I do that through resourcing. I do that through connecting to myself. I do that through giving myself, I do that through havening. I do that through EFT. We have many, many tools. Then my body releases it. I know it's released because I feel a lightness. I feel a release of tension. And it's almost like a doorway suddenly appears where before there was just a blank wall. And I feel a spark or an idea or get an inspiration for what my next step is inside, and I walk through that doorway. I trust it and I do it. Even if it seems small, even if it seems weird, even if it seems silly, I do it. Because that, to me, I trust is representing what I need to show myself that I can move through this. And that's how I work through this. Another thing that I noticed is I've gotten braver to admit to myself what it is that I truly want in my life, for my work, for fun, for my relationships, for where I want to travel, for my finances, for my home, for what clothes I want to wear, as small or as big as you would, as anything you could think of. And I find the answers to the question of what do you want in this scenario, or in this dream, or in this vision, or in this goal. I find the answers becoming clearer and clearer every time I ask myself the question, because I am allowing myself to believe that I can actually have that thing, that life, that outcome, that feeling, as opposed to believing my limiting thoughts in my head telling me that I can't have it. Another thing that's come up for me around being braver to admit to myself what it is I really want is that I have the freedom to change my mind if I decide I don't want it anymore. And this one goes back to the first time I was burnt out, when I got my dream job. And then a few months later, I felt the worst that I had ever felt in my entire life. And I associated, when I get what I want, I still get burnt out. So what's the point of getting what you want? What's the point of even saying what you want when it's possible that you could get burnt out by it, that you could get depressed, that you could still get, that you could still feel horrible. And that wired itself into my nervous system, where I was afraid to say what I wanted, because if I got it and I didn't want it anymore, or it made me miserable, then what? So I looked at that and I worked it through, and I used the tools, and I decided to write a new belief, and I decided to make a different choice about what I choose for that to mean. And I rewired that on a somatic level, so that when I ask myself the question, what do you want in this situation? And I feel that same stimulation of energy, it feels a little bit like angst and anxiety. It's very, very low now, but I know exactly what that is. I know exactly where that's coming from. And I can create safety in my body, and I can meet myself where I'm at. And I can help remind myself we've created a new belief about this, and this belief is serving us. And then I go through the process that I just shared with you before, the process that we're all working through. Another thing that is real for me in being burnout free is that I am more present in my moments all day. It's still a conscious, intentional choice, but it has become my normal choice. Instead, where before I was always thinking about what I had to do, like what I had to do next, or counting down the minutes until I could leave to go home and rest. And I noticed this especially with my level of enjoyment and connection when I'm, in groups of people, when I'm with friends, when I'm with family. At my worst, I really struggled with being away from my house for too long, because if a wave of exhaustion hit me during the day, I wanted to be able to be home. Or when I hit my limit for being around people for the day or for the night, which years ago was a lot smaller, like my capacity to be in groups and out was a lot smaller, and it has expanded a lot over the last couple of years. But I always wanted to be, easy access to being home, so that I could just be in a comfortable, safe space. But it used to occupy my mind the entire time I was out, so I wasn't able to be present. I was kind of always thinking like, well, when is it acceptable for me to go home? Or when am I going to start to feel anxious? And I was never really present. It was kind of feeling the build of anxiety the entire time, and then counting down the minutes until I could leave. Leave to go home to do what? To stress out, to stress eat, to numb out to binging on a TV series, which was never fulfilling, but it allowed me to not feel that anxiety anymore. You know what I mean? Coping mechanism that wasn't serving me. But now I understand that I feel this way when my nervous system is activated because in this situation of being out, I don't feel like I've worked hard enough, or something in me doesn't feel like I deserve to be there. I don't deserve to have that social or leisure time because I didn't accomplish enough, I didn't work hard enough, in the past it was I don't look good enough, I'm not fit enough. So if I sense this energy coming up, I know what tools I can use to nourish this part of me. And FYI, the solution is not to work more or to work out more or to diet harder or to avoid these situations. The solution is giving myself permission to be there and reinforcing my self-worth that I do deserve to enjoy life, period. Life because life outside of work, life outside of life outside of this arbitrary earning check off or gold star list that I have somehow created in my subconscious mind. Something else, which is fantastic, which is really one of the major reasons why I started this work, is that I have more energy than ever before, and I sleep really well. I sleep so well. And I wake up to a recharged body and a recharged mind each morning. Just by releasing many of the blocks that I just spoke about, the last few points that I made, did my energy start to return on a mental and an emotional level. Purely by releasing the stuff about work and the stuff about just holding me back, created space in my mental and emotional, picture, so to speak, my mental and emotional space. And by releasing thinking about like food 24/7 or just when I was going to work out or counting calories, or even just, again, like what I was deserving of doing in terms of working and playing, that all freed up so much space in my energy so that I can now fill that empty space with exciting thoughts, interesting ideas, hobbies, things that light me up, things that bring out my favorite versions of myself. So that has been an incredible shift for me that I just see developing more and more and more. I think this is number 4 that we're on. All of the emotions and the habits that I used to shame and blame myself for, like procrastinating and anxiety and low motivation and resistance, thought rumination, shame, negative thinking, avoidance, I have a transformed perspective for. I've kind of already said this, but these emotions, these energies that I sense in my body that come up, these are the guiding lights that help me figure out what I need and what I want faster than ever when I unpack the boxes. I just mixed 2 metaphors. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying. When I feel them, I know that I have to open the box, that it's a sign to tune into myself and feel what that message is to help me take the next step forward. Number 5 is I work less, I work smarter, and I take holidays off without any guilt or stress. And this one was a hard one to release, you guys. This one was a hard one and a lot of relearning lessons over and over and over and over and over and over and over again with this one. I've shifted this so much, really in the last 2 years especially. I will give thanks in a weird way, in a backwards way, to COVID and the lockdown for this, because it really helped me, I guess, gave me the space and time to shift this. But I've become incredibly grateful for any time that I decide to give myself to not work. And I really make the most of those moments. So I no longer, what I used to find myself doing was when I was sitting here working all the time, I would be just dreaming about and wishing like, oh, I wish I could take time off. I wish I could just, be able to relax. I wish I could take that vacation. I wish I could hang out with my friends more. But then when I was doing those things, when I was on vacation or when I was meeting up with friends, when I was at family parties, I would be dwelling on the fact that I didn't deserve it, that I didn't work hard enough for it, and I would never let myself enjoy it. It was always like whenever I got home, there was a punishment. Like I would work extra hard, or I would stress eat, or I would just shame and blame myself with thoughts. It was not a good combination at all, and it never left me feeling fulfilled in either place. Like when I was here, I wanted to be here. When I was over here, I thought I didn't deserve it, so I needed to be back over here. And I could never be any particular place. And now it's a totally different energy, and I feel like I can truly savor moments more than ever. When I'm working, I'm really intentional about work, and when I'm not working, I'm really intentional and present about whatever it is I'm doing in that moment. This one's a funny one. This next one. I've never felt more bored or lonely in my life. And it's a good thing. Why is it a good thing? I know it sounds strange, but this work has allowed me to create more room mentally, physically, emotionally for what I truly want and expand my life instead of filling the empty spaces with working and overeating and binging TV series, or just keeping busy for the sake of keeping busy, or just coming up with, dumb projects or dumb goals or things that I just came up with to fill the time, because again, I had this whole thing with not deserving to enjoy my life. So this has opened up a space, allowing me to allowing these emotions to actually come to the surface and have moments where I feel bored, or have moments where I feel like, wow, I feel really lonely right now. I wish I could hang out with someone. I wish I had a partner. I wish that I had more friends. I wish I did more social things. I wish I could meet new people. That is, I know it sounds really funny saying it out loud, but this is new for me. I'm for the first time allowing myself to feel these ways where before I would have covered it up with all of those, with more work, essentially. That's what I would have done. But because I've allowed myself to feel these, I'm also allowing myself to fulfill these needs with things that are truly life enhancing and beautiful. Like, for instance, I traveled to Washington this past year in 2022 for a hiking trip for an entire month. Yeah. I would have never let myself do that in a million years before. Start a new hobby. Like, I started playing tennis more. I started playing tennis with my neighbor, taking time out of the day to do that, joining a tennis group clinic, going salsa dancing in New York City, hosting neighbors and friends over at my home for dinner, making time to cook dinner for people and having that and hosting them. Going, and spending a few days with some family or with some friends, a few days and nights at a time, not being at home. Meeting new people in situations where I would have never even thought to introduce myself before. Looking for ways where I can meet new people. These are all very new things for me. And it's because I feel okay feeling these uncomfortable ways, trusting that I can resource myself and that I can bring what I need and give it to myself. And it is powerful, guys. It is probably one of the most powerful things on this list. And this is my last one. My capacity for joy and gratitude and happiness and inner peace has grown so deeply. I feel these incredible emotions on such powerful levels, and I can find them within me with much more ease than I ever did before. And I think the biggest shift about this is that I can tap into these energies, these emotions, without something external needing to happen for me to feel them. Like I no longer need a person or an event or a gift or something to happen for me to open myself up to feeling those ways. I can tap into them. I can create them for no reason at all, but I choose to feel that way. And this is new for me. This is new in the last 1 to 2 years for me to do with intention. I think I was, I think subconsciously and unintentionally we might be doing this, but intentionally doing this is so powerful and honestly is a practice and is a skill. Before this, I had to use physical movement, and I still use physical movement at times, but before it, I had to move my body. I had to work out. I had to move my energy physically enough to get my endorphins up to be able to tap into these levels of joy and gratitude and just feeling invigorated and all of that. But now, in between our somatic experiencing and orienting and resourcing and EFT, somatic visualization, which I've gotten better at, by the way, it's become much more effective for me with somatic visualization and even meditation after having done all of this somatic work. So that's also cool. But I can tap into these emotions regardless of what is going on around me, and I can resource them within myself. How I live my days now are something I would have never thought possible for me even just a few years ago. I used to have so much self-doubt, so much constant worry and fear, so much stress, so much anxiety, so much depression, burnout. I would just cycle through these things, every few months or every few years. And I just thought, I'm just deal with it. This is just how it is. But I know now that these tools, these methods have really freed me. And I will be straight up honest with you. Living life on the other side of burnout feels freeing. It feels empowering. It feels like you can count on yourself. It feels like everything I've ever wanted it to feel and more. And it feels fucking incredible. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it because I want you to feel this and I want you to get here in your own time, but I want you to see what's possible for you. I want you to see what there is to look forward to. And it's incredible. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm going to leave a few journaling questions below for you to reflect, for you to connect to what this brought up in you. Did it trigger you? Did it inspire you? What came up? Let's dive into it. See you soon.